now you can stay right here, we will play until somehow you can find a slightly different frame of mind. Right here in my arms, away from all harm, you'll be safe from all the flares, although I know you don't care.
Greetings, everyone. All of ye travelers have traveled so far within your dreams to meet me. What's that? A story? Sure, I have a new one for you anywho. But before we begin our story, we go at the beginning of the beginning. Many years ago, billions to be exact, maybe even trillions, there was Earth, or Earth 1. Now, what do I mean by this? You'll see. Earth 1 was created and ruled by an extremely powerful deity. Arceus, his name was. Well, its name was. Arceus showed various powers, such as shape-shifting and creation, destruction, and every single element imaginable. It could control. It could mess with the very fabrics of life, death, and anything else it very much wished. However, all it wanted was for there to be peace and order. All it wanted was peace, and so it created the human realm of Earth 1, with 3 children, each acting as a god of sorts. However, eventually, in the future of this world, humans became greedy and started using other creatures called Pokemon for their own selfish needs. Some were as simple as fighting, and others were a lot more disgusting and hormonal. Arceus eventually tried to stop the untold chaos which was happening. However, when he did try, it wouldn't work. For humanity and the Pokemon had created so much chaos that nothing Arceus did, no matter how many people he sent, no matter what he did, no matter what he used or who he controlled, there was always chaos, destruction, violence, and war. Arceus was enraged by the mysterious forces which he could not control. The mysterious forces being, well, simply humanity's greed, violence, hatred towards others, and many other things. Arceus kept trying to keep the world held together until humanity made its largest mistake yet. They blew up. They destroyed the world by releasing and by trying to control the 3 children which Arceus had. The 3 children, and however, did not by themselves destroy the world, no. Humanity used dark magic and scientific methods to try and fuse the 3 together into a being which could overthrow Arceus. However, such was not possible, and as a result of their foolish exploration, they released a chain reaction they released extremely large chain reaction which caused an explosion like none other to happen, destroying the Earth and the Pokemon and humans. Arceus was enraged, but sighed, knowing that eventually humanity would be the world's undoing. He then decided to float off in space for a while, seeing humanity as weak and seeing his ideas as foolish, as he thought there was no way peace could be possible with living creatures. Until one day Arceus got lonely and bored. But he knew he couldn't trust anyone because his 3 children always were fighting. He couldn't trust any human or anything. And then he came up with an idea. The only person he could truly trust was himself. And so he decided to create a being that was almost a clone of him, but not at the same time. The base of this creation was Arceus's power and DNA, swarmed by a whole bunch of Eevee and evolution DNA. Arceus created and was now eventually, Arceus was successful with creating a being like no other, Arceon. The Arceus evolution. However, when it was created, the Arceon was very playful and lonely. Arceus decided to create 9 Arceus then decided to create 9 other 9 other beings. Pokemon human hybrids but he had no world to place them in. So, he created Earth 2. Of course. Worse. When this happened, Arceon took a nap of sorts. What happened was Arceon was just newly formed. And it required a lot of energy to keep its physical form. It required a lot of energy, time, and patience as well. But before anything could happen, it poofed apart into white, glowing light. Arceon just realized that creating a being that would be on par, if not stronger than him, it would take time, patience, and lots of energy. So, he decided to create in a way, fulcrum or vessel for this energy, which would be stored up over the course of the Earth. This vessel was in the shape of Arceon. However, it had no physical form. It was like an intangible, invisible Arceon-shaped a glass container. But it was empty, so it did not exist. A little confusing, right? Anywho. Arceon then left, seeing as the Earth only needed one god, and Arceon tended to his duties as god, but he would leave within approximately 1,000 years before Arceon formed. His reasoning for this was the Earth only needed one god, and any more would cause problems, as he remembered his 3 children always battling, fighting. He did not like this, so he decided the world only needed one god when the time came. We skip about 4 billion years later. Humanity has gained things called quirks due to the energies which the evolutions created. As an example, say you have Denki's quirk. Simple. The, what is it called? No. Okay, I forgot the name for the electric evolution. Please tell me that in the comments. Say you have a quirk like Conway Woods. Your ancestors would have been somewhat around Leafeon, thus injecting and thus embedding its energy into the bloodstream of its descendants. and of their descendants. Pretty much, if you're near the energy, it embeds itself into your bloodline and then just passes on through all of your children and their children, and so on and so forth. One man discovered this and discovered that this was how quirks came to be. The nine great beasts, as they called them, the 9 elemental spirits or great beasts, were the creators of quirks, in a way. So, this man named N.G. Todoroki wanted it to create the ultimate quirk. Of course, it would take generations. But over time, he would want his children and their children to create a being with all 9 of the evolutions. And with all 9 of the evolution and auras, creating the ultimate quirk. The ultimate elemental quirk. However, this would never come to pass. As we all know, Endeavor sucks. Hold on. Anyways, back to the story. We go into a hospital in Musutafu, Japan, as we see a woman giving birth. But what she gives birth to is not an ordinary creature. It's not an ordinary human. But instead appears to be a boy with long white hair. And with not long white hair, a patch of white hair, 2 white and dark gray ears, and a very fluffy white tail. She figures that this is some sort of mutation quirk. So she asks, "What is this quirk?" However, miraculously, the boy appears to not exactly have one, or it looks like he has them all. The doctors and Inko are confused about this, as Deku then morphs into Arceon, the ultimate evolution. And when this happens, a aura is created from Deku's very body. Not just any aura, but an aura which only the evolutions can see. A very powerful aura, of course. This one basically hit every single evolution on the Earth. There is only 9, including original Eevee. So once they feel this godly amount of energy, they decide to try and track it down. Eventually, all meeting each other in Japan, in China, where they then formed Seekers of Arceon. And the Seekers of Arceon, or a group which pretty much a group which is consisted of the 9 evolutions, or elemental spirits, searching for a 10th and more powerful than anything else evolution. As we skip to when Deku is 4, he's playing about like a child, just hopping about in his backyard. When all of a sudden, something strange happens. In front of his hand, 5 strange colored orbs appear. They look like marbles, but not at all at the same time. So he looks at the 5 orb-looking marbles, and the 5 marble-looking orbs that just appeared around him, almost as if they're bending to his will. They move around into his hand and encircle around his hand. Deku then wants to try something else. He grabs the yellow one of these and points it, and basically he says, electrocute, or thunderbolt, because obviously, he says it like this because it's as if it's unconsciously. As if something is telling him to say it. And so, when he says, as thunderbolt, the yellow orb begins glowing neon yellow, and begins glowing as bright as a sun. As from nowhere, a giant bolt of lightning strikes down on the earth in front of Deku, as he then claps his hands, saying more, 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 as he's giggling like a toddler. As suddenly the other 4 of the 5 which he managed to manifest begin glowing at the same time. The 5 colors which he was able to summon are blue, green, yellow, red, dark purple, and orange. Orange, obviously, meaning the, I believe it's martial or fighter types. Again, I can't remember all of the Pokemon types, so please bear with me. As out of nowhere, a giant tree bursts from the ground. A giant fireball catches the tree on fire. A wave puts the fire out. Lightning hits the water, which is now on the ground, electrocuting it, and the tree, causing it to burn again. And Deku then rushes over and picks it up, picks the entire tree above his head, and flings it into the atmosphere. Of course, Inko is outside, with him watching this happen. And she then says, I need to take him to the quirk doctor. as she takes Izuku to the quirk doctor and asks the doctor, "Excuse me, is something wrong with my son?" The doctor appears to have brown hair with a white cap on. As she then says, no. But, he looks perfectly fine, perfectly healthy. As she then says, no. My son, his quirk. I thought it was just a transformation quirk, but he did something that no normal human would be able. And he did something which wouldn't be possible unless he had more than one quirk. The doctor seems interested and says, "All right, please show me the child." Which Enko does. She shows the doctor Deku. The doctor takes a long look at Deku and says, "Manifest. Can you say manifest, little boy?" As Deku then says, manifest? And the 5 orbs reappear out of nowhere. And she then says, so it is what I was thinking. We found Arceon. Thank you for your help, miss. I will see you, probably in like 50. I'll probably visit your grave in like 50 years or something. And to give you a flower to give you like something for your help. But bye-bye. As the doctor then grabs Deku and runs through the doctor's office and escapes the doctor's office with Deku in her hands. As she then starts jumping up and down the buildings, as she is undoubtedly chased by heroes such as Aizawa, All Might, President Mike, Endeavor, and others, chasing her, as they then say, "Come back here, you villain, and come back here, give that child back." As the girl then says, "Foolish humans," as she then takes off the white cap which she was wearing, revealing 2 ears, brown and a very light brown and a very dark brown color. As suddenly her doctor's outfit rips off, showing a white and a beige and a light brown fur covering her body, as a beige and white brown and light brown tail pops out of nowhere. And she then says, I am Eve, one of the legendary 9 elemental spirits, which gave you humans your quirks. I am responsible for the transformations. Behold." As she would then morph into an Eevee. And hold on. Sorry about that. My teacher just called. Was telling me about some quizzes and stuff coming up. So, yeah. Anywho, back to the video. Next up, now where was I? Oh yeah. she started jumping extremely high and even blasting some sort of energy balls at the heroes who were following her. Aizawa even tried turning off whatever quirk she was using, but then he realized, oh shit, it's not a quirk. And she then said, "Are you trying to turn off my powers? Fool, I have no quirk. And if you do that one more time to me, or any of us, I will forcefully make Umbreon. I will forcefully make Umbreon take away your quirk permanently." As she would then jump into a thing of trees and escape into a forest. As Aizawa would then say, "Dang it, she got away." As the other heroes went back to inform her of Inko of what had happened, Inko was crying and very sad and depressed. As we go to Deku, who sees himself in front of 9 girls. As he then says, "Who are you? Where's my mom?" As then the 9 girls say, "You don't need a mom." As then the first girl says, "Hi, I'm Sylveon." Ooh, look at you, so cute. It's almost hard to believe that you could be stronger than Arceon. After all, you look so innocent and weak. As Deku then says, "Who's Arceon? Who's Arceus?" As Sylveon then says, "Oh, Arceus is, in a way, your father / big brother. He's an extremely old, extremely powerful deity who not only made you, but us and the earth as well." And then another said, "Quiet, Sylveon. Can't you see he's scared?" As suddenly it looked as if the shadows themselves had morphed and risen up off the ground, creating what appeared to be some sort of bed or couch. As she then started cuddling Deku in her hands and said, "Don't worry, baby. You must be very frightened. Frightened from being taken away from your mom, As she would then say, "But don't worry. You'll only be with us for the rest of eternity. After all, once you're all trained, you'll be able to do anything that Arceus can do. Create, destroy, control. You'll have all the powers you would ever want." As another said, "That's enough, Umbreon." As Umbreon would then say, "Ugh, Espeon, I'm just talking to the little boy about what he'll become." As an Espeon would say, "Yes, but he does not even know who we are. After all, his mother, from what I've observed, has no idea of what any of us are. Therefore, she couldn't have taught him what we are either. As then a fourth girl said, that's right. His mother knows absolutely nothing of us, so it's only logical that he wouldn't know anything of us either. As then Umbreon would say, yeah, you're right, Leafeon and Espeon. Ugh. As Deku would look at the strange girls and would say, what are you? As they would then say, we are 5 of the 9 elemental spirits. You see, we are basically the creators of quirks. And you could be considered stronger than all 9 of us put together. Understand, little one? As Deku then nodded. As he then said, there's no way I'm that strong, though. All I can do is this. As he would then begin manipulating trees, causing an entire forest to grow from around them, as they were in a cave. As he'd then say, or this. As he'd then begin manipulating a brown stone and a brown orb, which would allow him to begin manipulating the earth. As he'd then say, how is that stronger than you? As they'd then say, with training, it will be. Instead of just manipulating a couple pebbles, you'll be able to control the whole world underneath your feet. Instead of just summoning a tiny wave of water, you'll be able to create a tsunami from the earth to the moon. You'll be able to manipulate every single shadow in the world, every single light, every single element and power. They'll all be yours to command. As Deku would then say, that sounds fun, but also very scary. As then a 6th would say, yes, that's why we brought you here, to teach you. As she would then say, I am Vaporeon. You can call me Vapor, though. You can call me Vay, though. You can call Espeon S, Umbreon Umbra, Sylveon Silva, and Leafeon Leaf. That sounds nice, right? Next, meet Jolteon, or Jolt, and then Glaceon or Glace, Flareon or Flare, and then Eve. We together are the 9 progenitors of quirks, and the most powerful living creatures, aside from you, of course. On this world, you are the first most powerful, you're the strongest creature alive. After all, it took you billions of years to form and gain all that power. But, of course, you, like anyone else, needs training. That's why we are going to personally train you here. Then, when you're of age, we're going to send you to a human school called UA. When you're there, your goal will be to arise above the mortals and beat anyone, no matter what their quirk is. Got it? As Deku would then say, "Yup." As then Espeon would say, "Good, now we begin." As Umbreon would then rush at Deku and would begin manipulating shadows and spawning crescent-shaped blades out of thin air. As Deku would then gulp, knowing that this was the first of many days, and of the many torturous days of his training. We skip 10 years. Deku is 14 now. The full size in this picture. His power has grown immensely. He can now use every type of Pokemon form. A Pokemon type. Ghost, easy. He can turn intangible and fly around. He can make things levitate and even summon the undead. The earth, easy. He can create mountains out of the ground quite easily. Water, tsunamis in seconds. Fire, volcanoes. Lightning, entire hurricanes. Deku was truly the most powerful being on Earth, but not stronger than Arceus yet. He still had a long way to go before he could before he could fight on par with Arceus. And so, he would enroll in UA High School. As we go to Deku, who was walking into the entrance exam. As then present Mike says, "Welcome, young listeners, to the UA entrance exams." As then he would say, "The rules are simple." And the rules are simple. First is the written portion. Just write the correct answers, and you should be good to go. And then we have the physical portion, where you will fight, and where you'll be able to show out your cool quirks, and there will be a point system. As Deku would ace the written exam, as his IQ, being trained by 9 of the oldest and strongest beings on the earth, Deku would have gained an IQ that was so great that it rivals Nezu's with ease, crushes Nezu's even. About 100 times greater. As after obliterating the written portion, Deku would zoom out using flying. As he would then see he would see a couple of robots. A 0-pointer, a 3-pointer, a 2-pointer, a 1-pointer, and a whole bunch of other 3-pointers and 2-pointers and 1-pointers. He would then see the world as if it was a video game for a second. Everything else was just low-level enemies or mid-bosses. And the 0 pointer was the final boss. Also the level. As Deku would then begin manipulating the metal of the robots, ripping them apart with pure ease. As he would then transform the metal into lava. Thus, and would begin manipulating the lava to attack the 0 pointer. Deku would then turn the 0 pointer's left arm into sand. Flying on top of it as if it were a ginormous tsunami. I'm surfing on top of it as if it was a giant wave. As then, he would turn the other arm into pure fire, and would manipulate the two elements into giant tornado-like shapes, causing them to spin extremely fast and clash together, right in the middle of the 0 pointer. Thus creating glass. A lot of glass, piercing through the 0 pointer as if it was butter. As then Deku would manipulate the 0 pointer's shadow and would then manipulate the shadows of the entire area and would turn them into pitch black chains. And into Vanta Black chains. The Vanta Black chains would wrap around the 0 pointer and would rip it apart into dust and into nothingness. Deku would then smile and walk out of the area. Nezu and the heroes watching were confused and were baffled but amazed at what Deku had shown. He showed the power and raw skill to be able to crush a 0 pointer with pure ease. As we skip to the next day, Deku would walk out. And Deku would walk into UA. And he would walk over to Class 1A. He would see Bakugou and would recognize him. As he would then say, "Ah, Kachan." Bakugou would then turn around thinking he heard a ghost and would see Deku. As he'd then say, "Deku? Is that you? And Izuku, is that you?" As Izuku would then say, "Yup." Bakugou would then say, "How? We thought you were dead. Your mother thought you were dead." As he'd then say, Who?" As Deku would then say, and as Bakugou would then say, "Auntie Inko, you know your birth mother? Where have you been, man?" As Deku would then say, "Oh, Mom. Right. I've been camping in the woods." Yeah, camping in the woods. Bakugou would obviously not have fallen for Deku's ruse, but would pretend he bought it. Because class was starting. As Aizawa would then say, "Greetings, yada yada, introduce yourselves and meet me outside." As he would then walk away, or scooch away, within a giant yellow caterpillar beanbag, and within a giant yellow caterpillar sleeping bag. as everyone would then introduce themselves, as Deku would then say, I am Izuku Arceon. My quirk is, well, my quirk is full elemental manipulation, or Pokegod. Yeah, my quirk is Pokegod. It allows me to manipulate elements and to do basically anything a god could do. Bring back the dead, kill the living, create life, create death, manipulate any element possible, control matter, space, time. Basically, what I'm saying is nothing can beat me. As in Bakugou would say, oh yeah? I'd like to see you try. I'd like to try to beat you. As Deku would then say, alright. Mr. Aizawa, before we do the, quirk assessment, can me and Bakugou have a little sparring session? As Aizawa would then say, sure. They would all walk outside into a very large field-like area, where they would see Bakugou preparing his strongest explosions, as he'd then say, come over here, Deku, and come over here, Izuku, so I can eat you into a pulp and bring you back to your mom. She's been worried about you sick, and she's been worried sick about you. Deku would then say, who needs a mom when I have 9 goddesses watching over me? As he would then say, hey, matter. Well, no. He would say, fire, air, earth, water. As suddenly, from the earth beneath them would pile up into giant pillars and spikes of rock. Suddenly, flames would blast off of Todoroki's flesh. He wasn't even the one doing and causing it to happen. It was happening on its own. Todoroki was confused. It was super effective. As Todoroki's flames burst off of his body and started flying in the air, like a giant flaming ring spinning around the two. As suddenly, from the earth, water would blast around, encircling the two as well. Earth would then begin encircling the two, floating around them, and so would the air, creating a giant orb-like battle arena. As Deku would then say, go on, Kachan, hit me with your best shot. Bakugou would then say, howitzer impact, one for all, 100% howitzer impact. As he would then rush over to Deku with his fist and palm, and with his fist open, creating an explosion, as he would then pull his fist back and his palm back, turning into a fist, thus charging it through the explosion, as it would then punch Deku point blank range into the chest. Deku would only look a little bit phased as he'd then say, ugh, oh, I was not expecting that from you, Kachan. You definitely got stronger since we first met. Looks like I got new power. You did too. Let me guess though. Yours isn't originally yours? it's someone else's, right? The great Bakugou Katsuki borrowing power from someone else. Thought he'd never see the day. As Deku would then begin creating giant metal blades and would begin sending them, and Deku would create giant metal blades and would send them flying at Bakugou. As he'd then say, "This is all you got? What a pity." As Bakugou would then say, don't you dare look down on me. Hey, don't you dare look down on me. As he then began blasting forward, trying to hit Deku. As soon as Bakugou would try to kick him with one for all, Deku would then say, Ghost. As he would then turn intangible. As Bakugou would then say, why can't I hit you? As Deku would then say, simple, I used the ghost type ability, which turns me intangible and allows me to float, possess things, and a whole bunch of other ghostly abilities. Speaking of such, as Deku would then charge at Bakugou and would possess him like a ghost. As he would then begin using Bakugou's quirks to cause self-harm to Bakugou. As he would then say, this is a very nice quirk. But, here's your body back, Bakugou. As Deku would then eject himself from Bakugou. He would then say, how do you get this power? As Deku would then say, guess I couldn't hold it in for long. Oh well. As suddenly white fur would cover Deku's entire body, as 3 golden yellow eyes would open up. Suddenly, about 20 to 30 orbs appeared around Deku's neck. He'd then say, behold, Bakugou. The elements. Each of these orbs is one of the various elemental types in existence. I can merge them to create new elements, and I can manipulate those as well. Behold, fire. And flames began appearing out of nowhere. And as flames which were still surrounding the floating arena, would then blast at Bakugou, and would go back to surrounding the arena. As Deku would then say, what about poison? As he then shoot what appeared to be purple flames at Bakugou. However, they were much faster and seemed like they were target-locked onto Bakugou. Once they hit him, he started getting poisoned and feeling as if his strength itself was being siphoned away. As Deku would then say, you like that, Bakugou? That's poison. Oh wait, next, air. Next, sand. As then a giant sandstorm began happening within the arena. As the sand would then turn into tiny metal daggers, or blades, cutting the crap out of Bakugou. As Deku would then say you yield. As Bakugou would then say, never. As Deku would then say, fine, I warned you. As he'd then say, Arceon Ultima. As then all of the elements would be used at once, pulverizing the crap out of Bakugou. even killing him. As Deku would then say, "Oh, looks like I did too far. Unlike I went too far. Oh well. Life. Flesh, bone, blood." As then Bakugou's body would then reform, and he would be brought back from the dead. As Deku would say, "Behold, Bakugou, that wasn't even 1% of my power. You were going 100. I was going 0.000000000.0000000.1%. Next time, train harder. You might be able to make me use 0.00000.01%. Or would you like a full percent? Because if that's what you want," as then it felt as if a giant silver, and as it then felt as if a giant rainbow flame and colored aura bounced off of and was leaking off of Deku, whilst he stared into Bakugou's eyes, as he then say, "You won't be able to survive a picosecond against me at 1%. Goodbye." As Deku would then walk away. And that's the end of this episode. Hope you liked. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. I'll see y'all later. Goodbye and skadoosh.